Ubuntu Touch is now available as a developer preview. I am Taylor Martin, this is Pocketnow, and this is Ubuntu versus Jelly Bean. I know what you may be thinking. You can't compare Android with Ubuntu, it's just not fair. Ubuntu Touch isn't a commercial build, and you can't compare the two, and we're not here to do that. We're not here to say one is better than the other. Obviously, Android has a huge advantage over a brand new operating system that doesn't have the functionality. What we're doing is seeing how these operating systems differ in how they operate, how they look, how you navigate, and how tasks are accomplished. So without further ado, let's get started. The first major difference that jumped out at me is the lock screen. Ubuntu technically doesn't have a lock screen, it's a welcome screen, and it feels just like that, a welcome screen. It's warm, fuzzy, and it makes you want to open the device. Android is a little different. It has a lock symbol right dead center in the bottom of the screen, and it makes the device feel a little more closed and off-putting. Not that that's a bad thing, you're not going to feel put off by your own device, but it's just the way it looks. Once you get past the welcome and lock screens, you will notice that the home screens are totally different. They're built on totally different principles. Android is much more complicated and convoluted in that everything is in a different place. Your applications are hidden in the app drawer, all of your content is hidden in individual applications, and so on and so forth. No content is right there ready to be consumed other than anything that you put on the home screen manually, such as widgets or icons, etc. Ubuntu is a total 180 from that. Everything is front and center on your home screen by default. Content, people, everything is right there, front and center, ready to be consumed right away. Sure, there are things hidden in applications, but there's a lot of stuff crammed onto the home screen. That's good and bad. The next major difference is how you navigate the operating systems. On Android, you have dedicated buttons to this. They're either on-screen or capacitive or possibly physical buttons. All you have to do is press them to navigate. By default, there is a task switcher button, there is a home button, back button, and on some devices, there is still a menu button. For devices without a menu button, there's an action overflow for all of your settings. To return home, simply press the home button. To go back one page, press the back button. It's very simple, straightforward, and there's no confusion about how to navigate. On Ubuntu, everything is totally different from that. Everything is done by using gestures. A swipe from the right side of the screen takes you back to your previous application. A swipe from the left takes you back home. A small drag from the left shows your favorite applications, and a drag up from the bottom within certain applications shows a menu. So it's a very big difference in how things are done. Task switching, for instance, is much faster on Ubuntu. All you do is swipe from right to left from the edge of the display, and you jump back to the previous application. On Android, you hit the task switcher button, wait for the task switcher application to come up, then tap, and then the application you want will launch. The big difference, however, is with Android you have a little more options when it comes to switching applications. If you want to switch back to the third, fifth, or eighth application back, it's much faster. On Ubuntu, you would have to go back to the home screen and then choose from the running applications. However, not everything is totally different between these two operating systems. There's more alike than you might think. First, for instance, is the notification shade. Simply drag down from the top of the display on either platform and you have your notifications, your missed calls, and everything, and you also have access to quick settings. With Ubuntu, simply drag down over different icons to access different settings. From Android, simply drag down with two fingers and you have toggles for all of your important settings. You can get the same effect with Ubuntu by simply tapping the time. A page with all of the settings will drop down, tap, and then it will take you to the respective notification shade page. The other very similar application within Ubuntu and Android is the dialer. They look totally different. The Ubuntu dialer looks very WebOS-like, while Android is the hollow themed. It's dark with neon highlights, but the way that the two work is very similar. You have a dialers page, swipe to the right, you have your recent activity, communication, and such, and swipe one more time and you have your contacts. The way these two are designed is very similar. Almost so similar that you would think that maybe Canonical got their idea from someone. Even the camera application on Ubuntu, though it lacks some features, looks very similar to the new Jelly Bean camera. There are some notable differences, but the way that the camera application acts when you take a picture and the animations and everything, it's very, very similar to the Jelly Bean experience. When you dig into applications like the browser, however, it's clear that Ubuntu is very primitive. There are hardly any functionalities in the browser. You can enter URL, hit forward and back, and that's pretty much it. From within the Android browser, you have tabs, you can share things, and all sorts of features. Ubuntu is lacking that right now. It's a developer preview, so it's to be expected, but it also shows how much work Canonical has ahead of them to make a very refined and well-rounded product that can take from the likes of a popular platform. All in all, I have very few negative things to say about Ubuntu, especially considering how early it is in the development phase. Sure, it's no comparison for Android right now, but it is a contender, so long as Canonical can bring it into the mainstream and get some true hardware partners on board. So many times it has been proven that awesome software is nothing without complementary hardware. For now, Android will remain on top, but there's one thing for certain. There's blood in the water, and many software makers are gunning for a much larger piece of the pie. At this point, it's just too soon to tell whether Ubuntu will be one to make a difference. This has been a comparison between Ubuntu for phones and Android Jelly Bean. Thanks for watching. I'm Taylor Martin, and I will see you next time.